This episode is all about Governor John Franklin, his wife Lady Jane Franklin, and their legacy including Franklin Square. In this series I tell stories from the Beattie Studio collection. Photographer John Watt Beattie and others left behind an amazing collection of convict and colonial era photographs. G'day and welcome to Forgotten Tasmania. I'm John Stevenson. In this episode I'm talking about Franklin Square and the person it's named after, Governor John Franklin. I've been meaning to research them because there are lots of places in Tasmania named after them. We have a town in the Huon, the Franklin River in the Tasmanian wilderness, and there are buildings and streets, monuments and of course a park in central Hobart called Franklin Square. John Franklin was born into the landed gentry in Lincolnshire in 1786, the ninth of 12 children. One of John's sisters, Sarah, became the mother of Emily, who married Lord Tennyson. His brother became a judge. John's father wanted him to enter the church, but John went on a voyage when he was 12 and got the sea in his blood, so his father secured him a position with the Royal Navy, which I think means bought him a commission. He worked his way up the ranks and in 1823 married his first wife Eleanor, but she died of tuberculosis in 1825. He was part of Lord Nelson's squadron and fought in battles before joining Captain Matthew Flinders aboard the Investigator and coming to Australia. In 1828 he married Jane Griffin, and that was the start of a real power couple. The following year, 1829, he was knighted, and in 1837 he was appointed as the 5th Governor of Van Diemen's Land, arriving on the island on January the 5th of that year. The colony was really getting going by then, but it was all about commerce and industry. Lady Jane Franklin, with the support of her husband, was intent on improving the quality of life in the colony and establishing education and the arts. The Franklins were reformers. They're credited with establishing Christ College, which became the University of Tasmania, the Royal Society, the Tasmanian Museum and Art Gallery, the Hobart Regatta, and making the gardens of Government House into a botanical gardens open to the public. The strangest surviving legacy of the Franklins is the Lady Jane Franklin Museum, a Greek-style temple modelled on the Parthenon and situated in Lena Valley. Some members of the civil service apparently didn't appreciate Lady Jane's views, especially her more humanitarian approach. Business, at least in the south of the island, seemed to be built on cheap convict labour. I read that Sir John was removed from office, but it seems that the Franklins did much to improve Tasmania and they are remembered fondly. In those days, Elizabeth Street didn't actually go all the way to the water like I might have said in previous episodes. It stopped at Old Government House, and that was about where the town hall is now and extended across to where Franklin Square is. Government House was on the top of a hill that overlooked the water. It was demolished and Franklin Square was started in 1863. The new and current Government House was built on the domain. Franklin Square has a statue of Dr. William Crowther. He was a Premier of Tasmania and had a career as a medical doctor. But Crowther is remembered as the one who, for scientific purposes, desecrated the remains of Aboriginal William Lanny, or King Billy as he's also known. This desecration was a heinous and criminal act, even back in 1869 when it happened. I met Dr. Crowther's grandson, Sir William Crowther, at the State Library in the 1970s. We talked about microscopes and science, but I felt that he was still living with the shame of what his grandfather had done. Right in the centre of the square is the statue of Sir John Franklin. The statue of the King, Edward VII, is on the outer, and I think that says it all really. There's a large chess set, plenty of seating, open space and the occasional art installation. It's also a major bus stop and hosts the Friday Eats at Franco food van festival during summer with live music. After all these years, it's still a pretty cool place. I hope you've enjoyed this forgotten story. Stay tuned because there are many more stories to tell. You can join our email list and get our newsletter every month. If you're able, you can contribute via Patreon, and of course you can always enjoy the photographs on our website. All the links are in the description below this video. Thanks for watching and thank you for everything that you do for me. It really makes this series worthwhile, and I'll catch you in the next episode. Cheers.